Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some more scrap mechanics. So, today we're working on this walker vehicle. Check it out. Now, I need to actually, unfortunately, I did a whole session, recorded it, and there's something wrong with the timestamp. So, I'm gonna have to kind of redo it anyway, because if you look here, I don't want that little, that I can never remember the name of these. What are they called? Bearing. I don't want a bearing there. I don't need it. It's actually causing some issues. So I'm gonna actually rip these legs off and take out all the bearings and make that a solid bit. So that way you guys get to see a little bit of the building process and you know um, I'll have something to work on just while I chat a bit. So let's go ahead and doing that whole thing with the controller again. And we get to have like all these like extra little bits lying around. It'll look good. It'll look like we're busy. So clunk. Oh god, I'll never get over these sounds. They're so just excellent, excellent. Okay, pull these off. Da, da, da. And that's really all we had to do. And I'll slap some nuts and bolts on there. Uh, yeah, yeah. These land vehicles don't have to be as balanced, so I'm gonna leave this one as reference because I want to rebuild it pretty much exactly like that, and then I'll rip it off when I'm finished. So I'll put uh, get that. I'll just put one of those on there so I know that leg needs to be fixed up. And let's clean up a little bit. I get a little bit, just leaving these parts around. I might leave actually some junk lying around once we have a little workshop going on. But for now, I just kind of want to clean up the work area a bit. It's just, yeah, kids running around. It's such a shame. I woke up early. I recorded a whole like hour, and it's c'est la vie, c'est la vie. So let's make sure I actually pulled out the. Okay, looking good, looking good. So you might be wondering. I don't know why I pulled that off. No, attach it there. There we go. You might be wondering. Okay, I guess the lift will be in a weird position. So why am I building this thing? Like, what's the whole deal? Well, I I kind of want to do a different show from just working on the helicopter all the time. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do kind of a land vehicle of some kind, and I also this is a prototype for a bigger creation. Like I have a really cool idea. And we'll talk about later on this episode. But for now, I need to like prove that you can actually build a walking machine and that the whole thing's gonna work. And um, this is kind of like a little prototype slash kind of just a fun thing to do. I like robots a lot, and getting in kind of this cool looking device. I think it'll look pretty awesome when we're finished. So it's just something I want to play around with a bit. So if you're wondering, is he doing the helicopter anymore? Well, yeah, I will definitely continue working on it. But a rumor mill going around is that there will definitely be aeronautics at it at some point. Just like all these kind of cool, propellers and wings and other little lifty flying bits. So I decided I wanted to just kind of table that for a little while and wait and see what comes out in the coming expansions, or not expansions, updates. Um, just because if they're giving us proper parts for building a helicopter, why not use those instead of trying to build this kind of cockamamie device out of um, all kinds of like thrusters and various things. It makes more sense to let's see. I'm gonna want that, and I also want metal. Here we go. Here we go. Da-da-da. Good, good, good. So anyway, I figure I just show you guys like I'm gonna rebuild this thing and just kind of show you the process of how I set it up. Now, the sprawl of this thing, it's such a. And I'm sure like as I do more YouTube videos, it's funny though when you first start out, it just stinks when you lose a whole video. You know, it's like, oh, it was good and we were having so much fun and yeah, something is going on where it just the timestamp doesn't it doesn't it. I mean, I'll have like a 20 gig file, but it'll say that the runtime is 00. And I've heard there's ways to fix it, but the program that was recommended to me, I don't know. It just looks. I'm a little bit put off by the way they present it. You know, you go to the website and it looks like something some hacker pirate would set up. And I mean, I'm not gonna like name the program or anything because I don't know if I want to really promote it. But it just, yeah, you know, it had like sickle and hammers and and I think they're going for like a the whole idea like you know freeing up the people and giving like the ability to edit videos back to them, but it didn't seem that legit, and I'm put off by that kind of stuff. And ultimately I don't really participate in piracy or think it's a good thing for the industry that people are essentially stealing stuff. And I know, folks, this is this is like something that people have all kinds of opinions about. You know, people make the argument that, oh, but those oh, I guess we can pull this off now. Companies have been stealing from good American people for years, and it's really not a big deal because it makes so much profit in other ways. And I don't know, if people work hard, I feel like they ought to not have their stuff stolen. I guess, but just my opinion. Some folks feel like that, you know, stealing music is okay, and I guess that's their thing. It's not my thing though. So let me what's that? Oh, sorry, just weird sound behind me. I think it's the kid stomping around a bit upstairs. Yeah, and you know, don't get me wrong. Like my neighbor's a cute kid. He's I live in an apartment, so and you know they're cute and whatnot. Not it's just I don't know. It's sometimes like my neighbors will get into like yelling matches about like it's your turn to it's your turn to change diapers, you know, and like that kind of thing. And it's just like step up, you know. If you're like a dad or whatever, you're gonna be changing diapers. Don't be like. Let me make sure I actually connected. Yeah, didn't connect that one. I'm glad I checked. It would have meant rebuilding the whole thing. You know, it's kind of like when folks don't really like pay attention to their pets and all that, and it's like if you have a living creature that you're responsible for, that you're meant. Oh, we're gonna still need that. Yeah. Like if it's a person or an animal or something, you know, treat it right. It's a reflection on you if you're abusive or. I'm not saying my neighbors are not abusive. They're actually pretty good neighbors, and they're pretty good parents. But it's just sometimes you get in yelling matches over it's your turn to do this, and it's like you know, just I'm kind of a person who avoids conflict whenever I can, and I don't get into yelling matches with people. But maybe I should. You know, sometimes there's a great quote by Winston Churchill. And that's, you know, it's good to have enemies. It means that you've stood up for something sometime in your life. And I guess it's a sentiment people have, you know, the idea that if you want to really take a stand, it's a good thing to do that. And I'm not saying don't stand up for something you believe in, but I just think there's ways to do that that are less confrontational, less angry, I guess. Um, Anywho, I'm kind of rambling. Jesus. Oh, my Jesus. Let's, okay, that's looking good. I just want to double check before we proceed. Did we get? Okay, yeah, yeah. So I'm basing the gate of this thing off of alligators, and actually I grew up in Florida, and we definitely had alligators in our neighborhood. Um, they really, they aren't much of a problem on land. You just have to be careful getting close to lakes with tall grass near the edges. It's something you learn pretty quickly because the gators will, I mean, they'll hang out there, and sometimes, usually they're pretty docile creatures. They are carnivores though, and you just have to be aware and not dumb. Like when you hear of golfers like losing an arm because they try to get a golf ball out of a lake, it's not worth the dollar or whatever a golf ball costs people. Just um, if you lose a ball, you lose a ball. Take the drop. I do play some golf. It's a family activity and quite a fun sport if you're into the social aspect. I would discourage people who want to take up golf from caring too much about your score or getting too competitive with it. It can be a miserable experience if you care about how you're doing. So let's get these things hooked up, and I guess I'll put, let's see, the first four and then the outer four. And I kind of want this to have a bit of a pattern just so it's easier to keep track of because, good lord, getting these angles right is going to be a chore. It's going to be quite difficult. Let's see how it goes. Okay, good. Because I don't... So, based off an alligator, right, the whole idea is I want this to be able to lift up, and then let's see if we can get a better angle on it while I explain it. And so this lifts up, then that bit there rotates forward, then that comes down, and then that bit rotates back. So it's gonna be tough with the timing. I'm gonna work on one leg at a time. See how it goes, and then it needs to keep repeating that, but it needs to repeat that in a way that simultaneously the other limbs are repeating that pattern. um, so it's gonna be kind of like this goes forward, it comes down, this shifts back, comes up again, forward, down, back, up, forward, down, back. Yeah. This is gonna take me a while to sort out, especially if I'm still getting used to talking and concentrating on the game at the same time. It's actually quite hard. I'm sure that if you come across this video, you watch other YouTube channels, and when you laugh at the guy about oh, they mess up so much, they're terrible, blah blah blah. It's because it's hard to keep a witty kind of conversation going while also paying attention to the game. I'm working at it. I'm sure the more I actually do it, the better I'll get. But it's kind of a thing. So let's pull up our connector tool here, and I'm going to do this one limb at a time. So let's see. It's tough too because I think for the full sweep of the motion, we're just barely going to have enough of these times, or cycles or whatever. Because, I mean, I could try to do it. Well, the problem is it would have to start out already. Actually, let's do that. Let's have it start where this thing, let's see, is rotated in the starting position. It's not going to look like nice like this. It's going to like already be in motion, I guess. But it's the other thing is, and this will be fun. After going through the pain of getting this whole thing set up for walking forward, we're gonna need like two more setups for turning left and right. um, which I might do that off camera. Sorry. Itchy nose, itchy nose. I know. Apologies, apologies. Um, because it's gonna just be torturous. It's gonna make me adjusting these angles over and over. So, anyway, yeah. Growing up in Florida, you learn to respect alligators and not. You don't want to be throwing a rock at them or anything. They're not that dangerous on land. They're actually pretty passive. But when they're in between the land and the water, they can get pretty territorial. You kind of just have to give them some respect. If they're up on the bank trying to warm up, because they're endothermic. They have to rely on the outer temperature to maintain their body temperature. So when they're kind of lethargic and up on the bank sunning to warm up, they're not going to be running after you. But you do worry when they're in the water because they're very quick. I've seen them land hits before. Oh my gosh, it's terrifying. They just boom out of the water almost faster than they can see because they got so much muscle in their tail that they can just whip it twice and they've moved 10, 20 feet. Just you have to really respect them when they're in the water and not approach water that they're in, especially during the mating season. And you'll know it's mating season because the big males, I guess I call them bulls, they do this really cool thing where they kind of like, I can't even do the sound. It's kind of like a that probably sounds just ridiculous, but like basically they breathe in a bunch of air and then slowly breathe it out, and as they're doing it, their whole backside kind of starts shaking back and forth really quickly, and it makes this really deep kind of rumbling sound, and the water behind on their back just kind of like goes nuts. It like it's very very cool to see and hear. But when they're doing that, you have to kind of keep your distance because the big males especially they get aggressive. They fight the younger males off. They want the females to be theirs. So you kind of have to like avoid them. Then immediately after that, you have to watch out for the mama gators because they're actually pretty good parents. They dig out these huge mounds. I mean, they're like 10 feet, circumference and just really tall, just massive mounds. And what they do is they lay the eggs in the middle and then they pile up dirt, mud, leaves, just make this big pile. And then they'll not eat. They'll barely sleep. The mother gators will just kind of hang around their big egg mounds, and they don't let anything near them. They get mad, like if anything gets near them. So when you see one of those, you just slowly back away and you don't go near it. And the mama gators, they don't eat during that time. They live off of their fat stores for like 6 months or whatever while the eggs germinate or grow up. And they also guard their young for a bit. I mean, they're very nurturing, actually caring for reptiles anyway. They're not like turtles, they're not like snakes or lizards. Like they actually parent, they actually guard their young. So yeah, it's you give them some distance, and if there's an egg mound nearby, you just don't go. You don't go over there. I never knew any human that got taken by a gator. I mean, I heard of a guy who lost his hand because he was an idiot, golfer, obviously. And not every golfer's an idiot, but you kind of are if you're going after a ball when you hit in the water. Because it's like, come on. It's in the water, guy. Take the point and then just keep going. Get on with your life. And yeah, he was reaching into some reeds, and the gator just kind of basically bit his fingers off. And it definitely happens. There's a lot of alligator related injuries in the South. Not many deaths. They can take a human. I certainly I can imagine a big 12-foot alligator taking and killing a man. Um, they tend to not to do that though. They tend to prefer smaller prey, probably because the bigger stuff can fight back. And you know, if a gator loses an eye or something, it's a pretty serious injury. So they're pretty smart. Like they'll tend to go after smaller prey. But I mean, I have known people who've lost their cats and dogs, and it's always sad when a pet gets taken. Um, Anyways, let's set up our initial start here. So, oh, what were the numbers? I don't even remember. Okay, so one, two, three, four. So let's have these. These are going to start with this one's going backwards and this one going forwards. So let's see if we can set that right. Okay, so one, we want negative 45, I believe. I tend to work with 45-degree angles. Let's see what this does. Um, okay, I guess these two. Oh, we don't want 45 because we don't want them to overlap. Let's try 30 for now. But these two, you see what I'm trying to do here. So these in the middle are going to be kind of bunched together like that, and the other two are going to be the exact opposite, spread out. But we don't want them kind of on top of each other like that. That's not a good situation. So let's not go 45. We'll ease up a bit. Try 30. See how that looks. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I want them to be kind of closer together like that.